What's up, y'all? It's Nefertiti and welcome back to my channel. So today's video is a little bit different. I'm going to be sharing some really big news with you guys, and it is not sewing related at all. This is more so a life update. As you can see, I am in my new office space and I have put up wallpaper. I got this wallpaper from Spoonflower. It's a peel and stick wallpaper. I absolutely love it. It also reflects my personality, which is rainbows. And we got some raindrops going on. So to go into why I am doing this video here, and I just so happen to be wearing my polka dot or moon rainbow shirt. I am pregnant. So I'm currently 17 weeks pregnant. By the time this video is posted, I will probably be almost 20 weeks pregnant. So at the halfway mark, my husband and I have struggled with infertility for a very long time. I'm just guessing off the top of my head. We've been trying to conceive for 10 plus years, and we were on our IVF journey for 4 years before making it this far along. So we have had a couple of miscarriages. So this is going to be our rainbow baby, and I'm so excited. I'm really excited to share this news with you guys. Thank you for being patient with me. I'm still working on the tour of the new space. I also moved last November. We moved to Georgia. So there's update there. So just so many changes. But I just kind of wanted to share a little bit about some of the symptoms that I've been experiencing, my journey to get into this point, and some of the people that helped me stay very positive along the way. Some things that I did differently. My husband and I have had 4 IVF transfers, and the first IVF transfer was not successful. We were dealing with a doctor in Texas. I was commuting back and forth to that doctor, and honestly, some more tests needed to be ran. I hadn't had an ERA test with this doctor at this time, and that ERA test ended up happening with a doctor that we sought out after the doctor that we were dealing with in Texas. And once the ERA test was done and we had results from that, we did get pregnant on the first try with a new doctor. I believe I'm post-receptive, but my brain is a little foggy, and there's 2 terminologies for the results for the ERA test. One is pre-receptive, the other one is post-receptive, and what that basically means is it determines the time frame as to when they need to transfer the embryo over. Is it day 13, day 12, day 14, you know, at noon or in the early morning? Like, getting pregnant and the timing is so precise. Even when trying to conceive naturally, it's literally magic when you get pregnant, because the window is so small. It's so small. We got pregnant on the first try with that doctor, and we miscarried at about 8 weeks. I didn't get a heartbeat. I didn't see an ultrasound with a fetal pole or anything like that. So we were really devastated about that, but I was happy to know that yes, we can get pregnant, and this doctor happened to help us on the first try. The second time with this new doctor, which was transfer number 3 at this point, was just this past year, and we had 2 transfers this year. I didn't talk about this. I haven't shared this on any of my social media profiles about our IVF journey, because this is really personal to me, and I didn't want to talk about it until I got to a certain point, especially because it is such a difficult subject for a lot of women to have. I wanted to make sure that I like really went in depth about this process, and I knew that it was going to be a long journey. So just laying it out right now, right here on my channel. So if you're not into this, you can close this video out, move on if you want to hear about some sewing stuff. But I feel like knowing about this part of me will explain a little bit more about the corny rainbow, which is also a play on words and reflection to us trying to have our rainbow baby. Cycle transfer number 3 was this year in January. We had just moved. Things were really crazy in my house. For the most part, my husband wasn't home with me. I had to give myself a lot of the injections, and you know, just being on the meds, it does a lot to our bodies. It makes you gain weight, and you're moody sometimes. Like, your cycle can be a little off once you start on some of the meds, and they want your cycle to be a certain time frame so that you can transfer on a certain date. And it's a lot involved, but it's also really stressful. But because we had already gone through it twice, I was kind of like an OG in the game, so I was prepared. But I don't think that I really prepared myself for it properly, because we also got a new puppy, which I don't regret. But right now, with everything that I've been going through and these emotional and hormonal changes that I'm having, I'm just like, I don't want to deal with her. So our puppy is 8 months old, and she's a lot of work. Her diet has been a lot of work, but I'm not going to get into that right now. So for transfer number 3, my husband was there with me, and it was a nice experience, just like the first transfer with this new doctor. I continued to eat the same way that I ate. I had been skating pretty actively, so I would say that I was in okay shape. I wasn't underweight. I was still slightly overweight. And just so that you guys know, I'm being very open. I weigh now about 222 pounds. And pre-pregnancy, this particular pregnancy, I was 221 pounds. So, and I'll get into why later, but when we had our third transfer, I was probably around like 205, like 210-ish. And I thought that I was like at a good healthy weight. The doctors do want for you to be, you know, healthy prior to going through IVF, but, you know, you can still get pregnant if you're overweight. It's like, it's okay. So don't stress about that if that's one of your concerns. It was definitely one of mine, which was why we took a little break in between dealing with one doctor in Texas and the one in Virginia. But I also took a break after that first miscarriage because it was really hard on me. And I was also dealing with some issues with my employer. And it was just it was a really hard time. Like, I developed PTSD after that miscarriage, and I was in a really, really dark place. That transfer this year, early this year, it was a chemical pregnancy. And for those that don't really understand what a chemical pregnancy is, I kind of like break that down to you. If you've ever had like your period come late, and let's say you are trying to get pregnant, and you take a pregnancy test on maybe day 2 before you miss your period, and you get a positive pregnancy test, and you still don't get your period, and then maybe your period comes 5 days late versus 2 days late, and you take another pregnancy test just before you get your period, and now it's negative. So basically, and this is to my understanding, that the pregnancy is not valuable or viable. It probably wasn't going to get past that point, but it still causes us to somewhat think that we missed our period, but it may end up coming late. So if you end up getting a late period, and then a lot of times that period ends up being really heavy, that could have been a chemical pregnancy. So in my case, because I was going through IVF, obviously I was taking plenty of pregnancy tests, and this was maybe like 5 or 6 days after my transfer cycle. After my transfer. And normally around that time, even with my first pregnancy with this particular doctor, I had a positive pregnancy test on day 6 or maybe even day 5 after transfer. So it varies, but the chemical pregnancies, they're obviously not going to last. So they obviously do the blood work, and when they do the blood work, there's a percentage that you need to reach in order for it to be considered a viable pregnancy, and those numbers will be so low that it's like, okay, let's move on to the next one. And there's really nothing that you can do about that. They happen, and honestly, in my lifetime, I've probably had a lot of those and just didn't even know. But when you're keeping track of your fertility and you're trying to get pregnant, that is something that you usually notice. And no, this wasn't one of those situations where the pregnancy test was off or it was faulty. I took multiple tests, different brands, and in that same day they were all positive. And not even a really dark line, but and not even a super faint line, but there was a line there. So yeah, that happened, and I talked with my husband about it, and I said, I think I want to try again. We had 7 embryos. We had 4 left. So I said, I want to go again. And if we can afford it, let's do it. I'm 39 years old. I'm going to be 40 next month. And not that age is a deciding factor, but I would like to enjoy my 50s, 60s with a grown child. Me coming from a big family and my mom having my last sibling, I believe at age 42, I know what that's like to have a teenager when you're in your 50s. So nothing wrong with that. My husband and I are both fine with that. My husband is 42, so we're both at an age where we're just like, let's do this now, because the older we get, we're gonna be grandparents taking care of kids, and that's really not what we want. So fast forward to cycle number 4, which was this pregnancy that we're in right now. I did some things differently. I did a few cleanses, and I'll try to like share a photo or something of those brands that I did use, because I really wanted to just have a fresh start with this particular transfer and make sure that mentally and physically I was a little bit more ready this round, this transfer, than I was the last transfer. So I did a cleanse from High Frequency Tea, and it was like a gut and gut and liver cleanse or something like that, and I think it was like 14 days. And I also did a mommy tea where I would soak in the tub with herbs and do that like at least 3 times a week until all of the herbs were gone. And I was already taking my prenatal vitamins, and you know, just trying to stay somewhat active. I was still skating when I could, because again, we had moved into a new house, so things were really, really busy. But I also journaled a lot, and I meditated a lot. I prayed a lot. Um, I tried to get more connected with Mother Nature prior to this transfer. On the day of the transfer, I sat outside in the grass and I just connected with Mother Earth. I put my feet in the grass, and I just envisioned myself as a mom. And even though I have been envisioning myself as a mom for so many years, because this is something that I really, really want, it was a little different then because I felt like my intentions were stronger. It was just like I felt like this was going to be the one that actually stuck with me. So on transfer day, I ate whatever I wanted. I didn't go along with any of those myths except for the pomegranate juice. I did drink pomegranate juice days before the transfer cycle and days after. I ate everything that I wanted to. I didn't stress about anything. I relaxed. I wasn't on bed rest. A couple of transfers I did just kind of put myself on bed rest. I wasn't really stressing, but just a fun fact, the day that I had my transfer was April 11th, and it's supposed to be the luckiest day of the year. Whatever you put out there that you want to receive, you will receive it. I felt really confident about having my transfer on that day, even though I didn't know prior to that it was the luckiest day of the year. But I thought that was really sweet that 6 days later I did get a positive pregnancy test and continued to get positive, strong pregnancy tests after that. I also did not have my husband with me this last transfer. I thought it was going to be harder than what it actually was. He was there with me in spirit, as he always is when he can't, be there for appointments and things like that, and all of the blood work that I went through just during the process. But I had that transfer all by myself, with the nurses and the doctor, of course, but I was in that room all by myself, and I can't say that I needed that, but maybe I did. I don't know. I'm not saying that I've been on this journey by myself, but sometimes even when you do have a partner, it can feel that way because a lot of the things they don't understand. They don't understand what our body is going through and the changes that these meds do to us. And, I'm not complaining about any of this by any means because I'm thankful for the entire journey. I'm thankful for the entire process, even though we're here 4 years later, 4 IVF transfers later. I'm thankful for it all. It does take a toll on you though, and I don't feel as though our spouses can ever really grasp what that's like. Being in that room and really just soaking in that I'm gonna be a mom, prior to even knowing for sure, I feel like I knew. It was an amazing day. I was touching trees and hugging trees, and I went to the park and I sat with myself. And it was a really beautiful time. And I've also been using earthing products and trying to get more grounded when I can't go outside and walk around barefoot or stand in the grass. So I also purchased a earthing sleeping mat. So every night we are getting grounded while we're sleeping. That was something that I did differently for our last transfer. I also went outside barefoot more often because I also have really bad inflammation in my back, due to having 2 herniated discs. Now at this point I'm just like spilling a lot on you guys, but this process has been a lot, and there's so many pieces to my journey that I'm just trying to sum it all up into one video so y'all kind of like get it. Please respect that this is a very sensitive time for me and my husband. Just keep in mind that I understand that not everybody is going to be in agreement with IVF for their own personal reasons, but this was a journey that my husband and I decided to take and that we're on, and just respect that. I'm being open and I'm sharing this with you guys because maybe it will help someone else on the same journey. If you guys have questions or you know, anything that you would like to talk to me about in regards to my journey and getting to where I am now at almost 40 and 17 weeks pregnant, please do leave a comment or a question, or you can email me. I do want to touch on what it has been like. The first trimester was so challenging. I didn't have a lot of actual moments where I actually threw up, but I'm still suffering from nausea right now. The food cravings have not kicked in. Every now and then I'll get like a strong craving, and up until this pregnancy, I have been, for the most part, meat free, but I still eat fish. I have ate meat, and I'm blaming it on the baby because I haven't craved any hamburgers or anything like that prior to, but it's like now I want burgers, I want chicken wings, I want all of the stuff that I didn't even eat. Like, I'm tearing it up. I'm really tearing it up, y'all.
The food cravings have not kicked in.
A lot of nights and days where I couldn't eat anything at all. So to touch on why I weighed the same exact thing that I weighed prior to becoming pregnant, I lost 10 pounds or maybe more during the first trimester, and I slowly started to gain it back just before I got into the second trimester, which is where I am now. I was in the bed. I didn't have a lot of cramps. I could just like feel that something was going on down there. So if I had to like compare it, the symptoms that I was having was very similar to what it's like when you're waiting on your period to come on. The BGs or the bubble guts, I had those. And down there, it feeling like something is gonna come out and you're gonna bleed, but then you don't. I had that almost every day. And I was like, am I on my cycle? But I didn't have any true bleeding. Probably like really around like the implantation time frame, I had little to no spotting. Like, it was so minimal. I didn't even need a pad or any of that. I want to apologize real quick because I don't know. I think because I hadn't used my camera in so long that I forgot where to put the mic in the camera. So this whole time I thought my mic was on and that it was... Are you hearing me now? That it was hearing me, but it wasn't. So hopefully y'all can hear me a little bit better. But like I was saying, I didn't really experience, I didn't experience any bleeding. And I know that some women have mentioned that they experience bleeding. And some of them even say that they have bleeding throughout their entire pregnancy. Thankfully, I have not had those kind of scares. I have had shortness of breath. It is hard for me to go up and down these stairs. And my sewing room is in fact on the second level of our house. I do have to climb up the stairs quite a bit if I want to come and, you know, just be in my creative space. So I have not really sewn much other than for sew-alongs and just standard pattern requirements that I have with Nomi. So I've just been really resting and relaxing as much as I can, even with all the work that I've been having to do with my dog and her stomach issues and things like that. And I think it hit me maybe about 3 weeks ago. I really started struggling with my sleep. And like clockwork, I wake up at about 2:30 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm up for about 4 or 5 hours from that time, trying to go back to sleep. I started taking melatonin or those little Ollie capsules, and my doctor also said that I could take Benadryl, I think like 50 milligrams or something like that. So there were also some meds that my doctor told me I could take to help with the headaches. I also had really bad headaches, things that I could take to help me go to sleep, like Benadryl. So I have not yet taken any of those things because I was on so many drugs prior to getting to this point that I was just like, I don't want to take anything. I'm gonna try to tough it out. And I really just want to take note of everything that my body is doing right now so that I could just be aware and just be fully present and in this pregnancy, like, oh, this is what I experienced. You know, if we do decide to do this again, then I can kind of say, okay, well, this is what I'm going to have to expect. Not getting any sleep, and naps are life right now. I have a cousin, and her name is Zahava. She's also my hairstylist. I love her to life. She's amazing. Prior to us going through this second transfer this year, I got my hair done by her, and I have been sharing with her how, you know, this was something that we really wanted. I've meditated on it. I've been trying to manifest, bring in a baby Earthside to life for so long. I talked to her about it, and I don't usually like to ask people to pray for me, but I felt it with her. I feel like when you have a circle of people that you can really trust with this type of information, and you know that they're not gonna like fumble, you know, the delicateness of going through this process, and they're really truly like there for you. I felt that with her. She was like, don't worry, I got you, you know. And she told me, she said, when I pray to the Most High, I get results. So, you know, not to say that I don't get results when I pray or that you don't get results when you pray, but she really spoke life into this being a possibility. And I felt that when I was sharing it with her. I cried a little bit, and, you know, I'm sure she did everything that she could do to just give it a little push. So I want to just give a special shout out to her because she's still a very supportive person with me in this journey, and she also, you know, struggled with trying to get pregnant, so she knows what this is like. I think it's really important to have people in your life that truly support and understand, or can somewhat understand, what it's like to experience miscarriages, and then also trying to conceive not just through IVF but even naturally. It's a lot. Sometimes family and friends can be really tough on us and make us feel like, you know, why haven't you had a baby yet? And people are always so concerned about your wound and what you're doing with your wound, and, you know, are y'all having sex or not? Like, that ain't none of y'all fucking business. Shout out to Zahava. I love you. If you're watching this, thank you for also, you know, continuing to speak life into this little baby that I'm now holding. I didn't like food for a long time, which is why I lost the weight in the first trimester. And I felt like at this point, I should be craving everything. And I should be eating like the Nutty Professor. I really wanted to have gained more weight, but I talked with my doctor. She kind of helped me to not be so hard on myself about losing the weight in the first trimester and then it just gaining back and still really not feeling like I gain any weight, but I have a little belly. I got a bump, and I'll share some photos somewhere on the side somewhere. There's a bump, but I know that a lot of women don't really start gaining weight, especially with their first pregnancy, until after 20 weeks, which is normal for a lot of women. Like I said earlier, I'm 39. I've had miscarriages. I've gone through IVF. So what does that mean? That I am a high-risk pregnancy, and I have to see a neonatal specialist throughout my entire pregnancy. And what that also means is that I will just have to have checkups with my regular OB and with a neonatal specialist. So at 18 to 22 weeks, I will have a fetal echo ultrasound. With IVF pregnancies apparently have a chance of having heart conditions and things like that, so they will be able to look more into the baby's heart. And so far I've seen toes already, their fingers, all of the limbs have grown. Everything looks healthy. From what the neonatal doctor told me on our first ultrasound with them, which was at 12 or 13 weeks, I don't look high risk. There's nothing to showing that is saying that I'm at high risk, but because I have all of those factors against me being geriatric, which I hate that word, okay? I hate that word because I'm not geriatric. Do I have some gray hairs? Absolutely. And probably in some places that I won't say, but yes, I'm still not geriatric. So the fact that we are, as women, labeled as geriatric when we get past 35, when there are plenty of women having babies at 50, hello, Janet Jackson, and 40, 42, I don't feel like we should have that label. I feel like that title needs to change. Because I have all of those things, and they're true that I am almost 40 and I have had miscarriages and this is an IVF pregnancy, they just want to make sure that everything is okay. I do want to talk about some things that I am a little bit nervous about. I won't say scared, because at first I was scared, but after hearing multiple stories from some of my friends and family about their pregnancy stories and journeys, I'm not as scared as I was, and it's more so just nervous. Prior to going through IVF with the first doctor that I was seeing in Texas, I did have fibroids removed. Now, if you follow me on Instagram, and if you also follow along with my blog on my website at thecornyrainbow.com, I have talked about this in depth and what this journey was like for me as far as having those fibroids removed and then having miscarriages having a miscarriage prior to the fibroids being removed. My fibroids were removed by incision, so basically the same area that they cut for a C-section is where they cut me to remove my fibroids. I had 3 fibroids removed, and they were about 6 inches long, so about the length of my entire hand, and they were different sizes around, but they were 3 of them that were removed. And I saw them, I have photos of them. Not going to share that, it's a lot. When they were removed, I believe the doctor told me, and I was a little drugged up at the time, but he told me that moving forward, when I got pregnant and got to term to have the baby, I could only have a C-section. I'm still looking into if that is the only option, because I do know that they have what's called a VBAC, which is a vaginal birth after cesarean. I just need to find out if I qualify for something like that based on how I was cut and if I've healed or what that would look like. I had the surgery in 2019, so I don't really know. I'm still trying to navigate that. C-section is something that I was a little bit nervous about. I did want to have the opportunity to push naturally, but if it is not in the cards, I'm totally fine as long as I have a healthy baby by my side. I went to Nicaragua in April, just after I found out that I was pregnant. So I found out that I was pregnant on April the 17th. That was when I took the first pregnancy test. And I told my husband, I think the day before I went to Nicaragua, which was on the 19th. He was like, I don't think you should go. And I was like, what? No, I absolutely need to go because this is like a celebration of it worked. You know, I feel differently about this pregnancy. I want to go, and I haven't been on a trip or travel even by myself other than going back and forth to the fertility doctor in Virginia. In a few years, and I hadn't had a stamp on my passport since 2020. So, well, actually it was 2019. Yeah. I felt like I was in desperate need of a trip. I actually won a contest. So weird because I hardly ever win stuff like that. I won the opportunity to go on a skate, yoga, surf retreat with my Skate Pro. And it was so good. I met some really amazing women there, and we had an amazing time. I was able to go with my soul sister, So You, and she was amazing. That was our first time meeting each other in person, and we just clicked. It was so beautiful. It was like, I can't even put into words really what that trip did for me, because spiritually I felt in tune with myself. I was by the water, which is for me the happiest place for me to be. I love the beach. I love, just sitting in the sun. I'm a real nature freak, so being in that element, it really just sparked another energy inside of me. Now, because I had already told my doctor that I knew I was pregnant prior to going, because I took the pregnancy test at home, I wasn't scheduled to have my blood test until the day after I came back from Nicaragua to actually confirm the pregnancy. I asked the nurse, I said, hey, I'm going out of the country. Like, I need to know what this is going to look like for me, because I still had to give myself the injections in another country. On the plane, sometimes I had to, while I was flying there, I was in the little tiny ass bathroom shooting myself in the butt and making sure I stayed with my meds. I didn't miss not one dose while I was in the States or in Nicaragua, and was always on time. That was also challenging too. Like, I had to make sure that my needles were already ready. I was worried about getting through TSA with the needles, and it was no problem. My bags didn't get like searched randomly, or they didn't look through them thoroughly, even with me having the needles and the meds. So I had a note written just in case from my doctor that I was able, to travel with those meds so that they wouldn't like take them from me, because I was nervous about that too, going into another country. Everything was fine with my meds, and the only thing that I was worried about, because my doctor told me, and it's on the list of things that you can't do during your 2-week wait, and that's swimming, hot tubs, strenuous workouts and lifting and things like that. And I was just like, that's gonna be my whole trip. I was worried, I'm going to this beautiful place. There's gonna be beaches and ocean and, pools that I'm gonna wanna get in. And am I supposed to just not get in because I don't know if implantation has happened already or not? Because apparently doing those type of activities can affect implantation. But because I had already taken the pregnancy test before I went, I felt more confident going. And so I didn't like surf. I did get in the water, and it was amazing. It felt beautiful. It was lovely. And here we are. That trip was really what I needed. And I am going to hint to my husband that I'm also going to need a baby moon. That's going to be our last vacation and time together with each other before the baby gets here. I do know the gender, and I will not be doing a gender reveal party or anything like that. All of our embryos were PGS tested, and what that means is they were tested for any abnormalities and also the sex. So if you want to guess in the comments, you think you know what I'm having, then have at it. I told my mom the baby's heart rate, I think it was 12 weeks, because my mom is a pro. She's had 11 kids, no epidural, all natural. She said, what was the heart rate? And I told her, I'm not going to say it here. Y'all aren't going to trick me into that. But she said, what's the heart rate? And I told her, and she said, oh, it's a, and I was like, I won't confirm or deny. That's kind of like what I say to everybody, all of my family and friends that already know that we're pregnant. That's the same thing that I say to them. So put your guess in and tell me what you think I'm having. I think I've rambled enough. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, this life update that I'm sharing with you. I know a lot of people do a life update about, you know, getting pregnant, but for me, this is extra special because I deserve this. I really do. On that note, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please like, share, and subscribe, and comment below what you think the gender is.